live.
Good morning, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Vancity Beats, Eats, and More. We kind of practiced that,
yeah,
but that turned out much better. Very natural.
Thank you.
Yes. Today I'm joined, my name is Kazi. I'm joined on the show today with Elsa, aka DJ DOOD, the number one dude that you want on the dance floor playing your tunes, especially if you're a big fan of house, techno, and you are located in Vancity, and you really like the queer parties, you really like the vibey parties. This is the one. I'm really, really excited to have you on the show. You've been a friend of mine for a really long time.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and I've seen you from early beginnings of do on the guitar. You know, beautiful voice. For anyone who doesn't know, Elsa is an incredible musician as well.
Thank you.
You've been a big support for a lot of my early event organizing in circa 2016, 2017.
Yep.
And now I'm seeing you do the thing.
Yep.
Which is so cool.
I know.
Working with Public Disco, working now with Bass Coast Festival, working with Vancouver Mural Fest. It has been, really inspiring and also just like beautiful to watch you.
Thank you.
Blossom and evolve.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so on the show today, wanted to talk to Elsa, get to know a little bit more and share with our community as well as whoever watches on TELUS Optic TV about her creative journey, her process, and the current state of Vancity arts and culture, especially as somebody who organizes events. You know, they really have like the ground level view of what's going on, but also is like such a big part of shaping what is happening in 2024 and beyond. Yeah.
Wow. It's so fun to do this with you.
I know. How are you feeling?
Good.
How's your Sunday morning going so far?
It's chill. I took yesterday off, which I don't usually do, so I'm feeling really rested.
Yeah. I'm always expecting, if it was a Friday night or a Saturday night, I'm like, what rave did you go to
I know,
last
you're like,
night?
go out?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
No.
Taking a
We're
break.
doing coffees. It's Sunday. We're relaxing. And I also brought Elsa some treats.
Oh my God.
And I haven't eaten anything yet. So we're going to get into the treats first and foremost. Have you heard of Annabelle Choi?
No. Okay, I was saying I don't recognize, because I circuit the cafes around here.
Look at this very abstract kind of stamp logo. I want to shout out Annabelle Choi because she's a low-key legend. I did some research on her. I low-key really also want her on the show, but she's very busy. She kind of has like this cult following around her pastries. She has worked at Matchstick, a few other places, but now has officially opened up her own little cafe. And, you know, she calls it Annabelle Choi Studio. She also did like workshops on like sourdough and pastry making and whatever. So anyway, she's located on Kiefer and Columbia, or where Columbia becomes Quebec in Chinatown. And her pastries are very, very interesting in their flavor profiles, creatively speaking, and they're delicious. And it's the only place I will spend like $8 on a croissant. Not a regular croissant. Dun, 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 dun.
Whoa.
Yeah, I got four things.
Cookies.
Okay, so Elsa, this is called a miso walnut cookie. Okay. They pitched me on the like, do you like savory and sweet? I'm like, I'm Filipino. We put chocolate and cheese things together. You know what I mean? This is what you call a cardamom couinement.
Okay. Like
Do you
a
know
cardamom
that?
twist?
Yeah. Do you know the word in French? It's
No.
French word.
No.
Couinement.
Don't ask me.
Yeah.
I will say I'm very into baking though, so I'm excited. about
Okay.
this. I am a low-key baker.
Okay, so this one is pumpkin and brie turnover.
Ooh.
This one is my favorite. This is the $8 thing, okay? It is worth it. It has prosciutto. It has like some sort of cheese. And then this word that I can't say, cannabizola or cannabizola. It's like a cranberry type of berry.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
okay.
really good. So
Damn.
we're
Let's
gonna
do it.
sample this. Don't worry, Sean. We're gonna save you some bites here. What would you like to try first, darling?
I feel like I want to go straight in for the goods. I want the $8.
Yeah.
I'll have a $1 croissant.
You're like, well, so my little thing is like, I like to go in there for my writing practice, get a coffee, and then order this, and then nibble this while I just sit there and people watch.
Yeah.
And, you know, they have a lot of cute dogs that walk in there.
Cute.
Is that honey on top?
Yeah.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
Heck yeah.
You need your reaction shot. Yeah, you see this?
Yeah.
The walnut, the prosciutto, it's like
Oh, it's like a cream.
like a blue cheese type of cheese.
Yeah, totally.
You
Cheers.
know? Cheers.
Oh my god. So good.
It's like the first time every time.
It's so good.
You know what I mean?
The layers. Wow.
Thank you, Annabelle, for being amazing.
Okay, and that's the show. We're just gonna be.
So while your mouth is the fullest, this is where I'm going to ask you the
Yeah, go
most
for it.
heavy-hitting question. I'm just joking. Yeah, talk to me about your early beginnings of, you know, how creativity was introduced to you, music, or any other art forms that, you know, you first got into.
Earliest memory. We'll go really far back. As I had when I was a little kid, this Fisher Price cassette tape player with the mic.
So many
Do you know
people
what I'm
have.
talking about?
Of course I do.
Okay. Anyway, I had the Bananas and Pajamas cassette in there, and I was belting my little heart out.
Like bananas.
Yeah,
in
totally.
like that's what you were belting.
Yeah. And then I had other cassettes that my parents gave me. You know, like my parents are very into rock and R&B and blues, and
Your dad's a musician,
and
no?
my dad's a musician, and so music was just always in my house, and we were always listening to music. And when I was a little kid, I didn't really. This is not a nose in the air thing, but I just really wasn't listening to the current music of the time. My parents were very like, well, whatever, Britney Spears, but here's Led Zeppelin. As if that was any more age appropriate, but you know, whatever. So I was
Speaking of
like,
that era, I'm seeing a poster here of Neil Young.
yeah, Neil Young, like tons of, you know, just like really classic rock. And I got a guitar when I was like 5 years old and kind of started playing around with that. I don't think guitar really stuck until I was about like 10. When Avril Lavigne was hot. She had just come out with Skater Boy.
Let's talk about them arm warmers
And
them
every-
stripy arm warmers.
Yeah, and the tie, and every, you know, girl that was playing guitar was just stoked, and I was stoked, and I was just spending a lot of time learning that. And then that kind of developed into me doing a rock school and recording arts program throughout high school that actually my dad taught, and he was my teacher, and music was just like, yeah, just always, I can't remember a time where music wasn't a part of my life, or like getting up on a stage. I was always like ready to be up on a stage. I was in the musicals or doing a talent show or whatever. It was just
Writing
always
your own stuff?
writing my own music. I think I started writing my own music. I mean, at the age when every girl gets her diary and starts, you know, I think that's right about when I was like, I will write songs about this and we will process our feelings that way. So
Oh my God.
I was definitely writing songs at like 10 or 11 years old or
Do you
whatever.
remember one of your first songs you wrote?
You know, no. I should really go digging. I really don't. I can remember a lot of my high school stuff, and I have like old demo tapes of that, but I mean, it's just all heartbreak, you know? It's like the easiest thing to write about, so.
Like, he walked past by me in the hall and
Yeah.
didn't say hi.
Stop in my locker. Yeah. Totally.
He
So.
went for my best friend.
Yeah. But then it kind of turned into, I think in high school, me being like, I want to play lead guitar and I want to be in all these bands with all these boys. Rock school was very like, you know, male dominated, and same with recording arts. And I think I just immediately was like, I need to try and create space for myself. And in my like grade 12 year, I did like a all girl heart cover band, and that was like a really big epic. We were all doing the guitar solos, and it was really fun. And
Yes.
that kind of graduated into me just like wanting to do music outside of high school. And I feel like right around my early 20s is when I had met you and was kind of like living in that mansion and playing in bands and jamming and recording music. And
Just to clarify, that mansion, it's called Thug's Mansion. Shout out.
Shout out Thug's Mansion.
It was an era of epic house parties in North Burnaby,
Yeah.
and you lived there.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a little sublet for a while and was just surrounded by so many things, like
Yeah.
skateboarders and artists.
Other
and
musicians. I mean,
musicians.
how I came across it was the person I was dating at the time. Shout out to Armando, aka Ro. who's one of my good friends.
Yeah.
And he got asked to DJ this party. I was like, wait, I want to come to a mansion party. Like,
yeah,
what
and
are
I
you
was
talking
putting
about?
I was renting the gear from Long because I was
Yes.
working at Long and McQuaid. Oh, this is the other thing. In high school, I started working at Long and McQuaid, and so I was the half price rental hookup basically. Was to rent all this gear, and so we were like me and Erica and a few other people putting that party together.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
like,
shout out
getting
to
all the
Erica
gear.
and Bailey.
Yeah.
And that house party was super fun. And I remember we connected because you saw me noticing and like just like appreciating because of I do events. So I was like, oh yes. And I was dancing in this room and there was like a hazer machine and I was just having so much fun.
Yeah.
And then when I found out it was you, I didn't meet Erica till later, but it was you who I met at that party.
Yeah.
And then we really connected. We're like, oh, and at the time I had a studio space too.
Yeah, and
so.
you're like, I'm doing parties, and
Yeah.
you should come hang out, and da-da-da, and yeah. But it was funny because I wasn't DJing at that point.
No.
I was just doing...
We didn't even know that was going to be in the trajectory yet.
Not, and if you had asked me at that point, I would have been like, nah, whatever.
Yeah, no,
they
you
press
were...
buttons.
You were... They pressed buttons.
I play guitar,
Yeah,
you know?
we'll
I was
just
so
announce
snobby.
all DJs.
No,
to,
literally,
you
I
just
was
press
such a
buttons.
snob. It was so funny. I was like, well, you know, it's cool, but I'm good, you know?
You were really into your music. And I
Yeah.
remember, like, you know, you get performing a few different times and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, it seemed like at that point in time, that was really your goal.
Yeah.
How did DJing really enter your life then?
Yeah, it's funny.
Because I don't even think I fully know that story. Like, I feel like all of a sudden I just heard you're like, yeah, I'm going to DJ. And then DOOD showed up.
Yeah. Everyone's like, that was a left turn. How did DJing come into my life? You know, I was just helping through a lot of those parties, and I don't know if it was that party or a different party. It might have been this party. Anyway, Justin Udio and Nick McKenzie, shout out you guys, Purple House.
Purple House.
Purple
I've been
House.
once.
Yeah.
That was the last time I saw you perform with a guitar. Was at Purple House.
That was where it died.
Oh my God.
It was so funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we're DJing that party, and it was we had an all vinyl. We had CDJs, and we had an all vinyl setup, and so I was helping them set up the all vinyl stuff, and I don't know, we got to know that way, and then I don't know how it came up, but eventually they were like, will you help us throw this party at 333? Shout out 333, we're going to do this all, the whole conversation. There's going to be all these archives coming up.
Which is important.
Yeah.
But that was on Clark Drive.
Yeah, Clark Drive. They're like, we're going to throw this party
Throwback.
at this like car garage. And at that point, I had started going to after hours. So this is the other thing. I didn't really listen to electronic music. I wasn't into house music in high school. It took me until, you know, my early 20s of people bringing me to parties. And my first rave I ever went to was at Index, which was just down the street from 333.
You're really taking me down memory lane. Yeah.
And so I think Justin had taken us, and I had gone with Erica and all of them. And I just remember going and getting to the dance floor and being like really confused for the first like 10 minutes. Because at that point, my dancing experience had been on the Granville Strip, or, you know, back in my hometown in Poco, going to like Roosters, you know? And, like,
Not Roosters!
and so you would like, when you would go out dancing, it was like immediately you were like, okay, who's going to come grind with me? Like, who's going to come dance with me? You know, like, and it was just, you know, this whole like, we're out and we're trying to whatever, like dance. And I just remember getting to the rave
Of clubbing on Granville Street.
Yeah.
Where you have to swat off
Yeah.
people.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I just remember being really confused. And then finally it was like, okay, actually I think this is fun, and I feel awkward, and I'm not quite sure how to dance to this. And by the end of the night,
And it was like Technor House.
yeah, it was like back when Lo-Fi House was like really cool. And I couldn't even tell you who was DJing at the time, but I'm sure it was like a TripAdvisor party or something like that, when the TripAdvisor parties used to happen. And yeah, I like left that night being like, that was the best thing ever. I had so much fun. So then anyway, Justin and Nick were like, okay, we've been to these parties, whatever, can you help us throw this one at 333? And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll help you throw the party. And I think I had already thrown one other party there with Inez, and we had done Witch Hour. It was like Inez, Christine,
Shout outs to
Mira,
Inez,
Allie.
Christy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we had done like a Witch Hour party there, and I had just helped with the decor and the sound and the whatever, but I wasn't DJing. And yeah, Justin and Nick were like, do this party, and I was like, okay. And then they're like, it would be cool if you did like an opening set, like you could learn how to do it, like whatever. And I was like, I don't know. And then 3 weeks before, I was like, okay, I'll do this. And then Nick and I, we had gotten a studio space at that point, and Nick and I were like, hey, we're going to do this. He's going to teach me how to DJ. And I was like, I'll be able to do this.
Wait,
like,
which Nick?
Nick McKenzie.
Oh, okay, yes.
And I didn't get into the studio, and I just remember being like, oh no. Like, what have I signed up for? This is actually so hard. Like, I don't know anything about house music. I don't know how to dig for the music. I'm not good at beat matching. This is all these buttons are actually very confusing.
Yeah.
And it just like became this like really daunting thing. And then I just went really hard on it for 3 weeks. And we actually ended up getting a radio show slot right before this party. And so my first DJ debut really was on N10S, the radio station out of Montreal. And we had like live streamed out of this spot in Vancouver.
Cool.
Like a record store, East 8 actually in Chinatown. And yeah, did that and then did the party that following weekend. And I just remember during the opening set being like, what am I doing? I have no idea what I'm doing. How am I going to make people dance? And by the end of it was just like, that was the most fun I had ever had doing anything in front of anybody. Like, you know, like to play in a band and sing your own songs has its own special connection and moment. But there was just something about starting the party and getting people to dance and connecting over music that you really love that I just didn't quite understand until you do it. And I feel like there's so many DJs you talk to that are like, yeah, that first, like, you can DJ all you want out of your own house, but the second you finally do it in front of people and you get to feel this connection of like, oh, we're all really getting down to this song right now. Yeah, this song is great. Like, that was just sort of, and then immediately after that party, I was like, and let's do another one. Like, I want to keep DJing now. Like, this is so fun. And we got a radio show, and Nick, Justin, and I formed Purple House and had some other friends, Nicole and Allie and a few others helping out with it. And that was kind of really, really got into like full out, okay, we're going to throw parties and I'm going to DJ. And
how did DOOD, the name DJ DOOD, come about?
Yeah, I was telling Sean earlier, when I was working at Long and McQuaid, so during all this time I was working at Long and McQuaid, I was managing the music lesson center there. And one of the teachers, Jamil, I was like, I'm going to DJ, and I'm trying to figure out a DJ name. And he's like, what if you called yourself DJ DOOD? And I was like, I don't know. It's really silly. I don't know. He's, yeah, but it's funny because you know you're a girl, and like people wouldn't be expecting it, and you know, it feels like it fits your vibe. And I had like gone back to Justin and Nick, and I was like, what about DJ DOOD? And they're like, yeah, it's sick. Let's do it. And I was like, okay. And they're like, do it with 2 O's. And I don't know. It was just a really funny time. And yeah, so it just turned into me being like, well, I'm just going to DJ this one party and then maybe I'll change my name. And now I've just been stuck with it.
No,
but
everyone should know, whatever you start with is what everyone is going to get stuck with.
DJ Dairy,
yes.
Nick, Ray,
DJ Dairy Free and DJ Direct Deposit.
the homies.
Also great names.
Yeah. No, it's funny in direct.
Y'all are triple Ds together.
No, that's true. Nick and I played a party together in Village Studios this past summer, and they announced the party, and this one comment was like, best DJ names I've ever seen.
Oh my God.
Yes, thank you.
They keep coming up with more,
Yeah.
which is hilarious. That is so cool. I can't remember where I was at that time. I wasn't at that party, but I just like, I remember seeing that emerge, and then, yeah, it really did feel like at the moment, like a left turn from where you were, but then you really started to go hard at it.
Yeah.
Which is super cool.
Yeah.
And really started getting into like more house, more techno music.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going out like every weekend, twice a weekend, just like taking everything.
Who at that time, like, what were you, like, other DJs or artists that you were inspired by that really helped propel you digging deeper into this lane?
Yeah, well, when I had gotten that studio with Justin and Nick, we were in a studio space called Sweet Pup, and across the hall from us was over...
Was that in Acme?
No,
Oh,
it
okay.
was like further down the street from Acme. It was like basically a couple blocks down from Fortune Sound Club. And when we were in there, Overland, Jody Overland was across the hall from us, and then D. Tiffany was down the hall from us. And so I was learning how to DJ with Jody and Sophie listening to me over the wall, just feeling stressed. But they were just like so encouraging. Yeah. Like honestly, any of the DJs that I hung out around that time were just so encouraging. Like Jamie Big Zen was throwing a lot of parties at that time. And then obviously I was going to a lot of Pacific Rhythm parties and getting inspired by that. And Mood Hut, I was kind of at the tail end of the Mood Hut stuff. And I don't know, it was just like you would go to a party at Deep Blue and end up in the smoke pit downstairs just chatting with everybody. And everyone was just so ready to like have a conversation and be excited that you were like going to be learning how to DJ. And I remember at one point gone up to Sophie D. Tiffany and have been like,
I'm just gonna do one of these.
Oh, thank you.
Hide your mic here.
Oh,
You know, I'm
the
such a
details.
mom. Such a mom.
I got up to Sophie and been like, hi, I'm like really getting into throwing parties, and I just think what you were doing is so cool, and I have discounts on speaker systems and da-da-da-da-da, like, you just let me know. I feel like at the party, she was like, yeah, okay, cool. But then like a week later, it followed up being like, yo, we want to throw this party in the middle of this park, and we're going to do it like midnight, and it's going to be this renegade party. Do you want to help? Like, can you bring a sound system? And I was like, yeah, for sure. And then immediately it was like, oh my God, I'm going to get fired for doing this. Like, I'm going to bring this sound system here and it's going to get so dirty. And yeah, she threw this party, and it was her and Rosa Terenzi, like 2018, this like huge park party. And it was just like such a cool experience. And I think that was like another moment where I was like, this is such a high. I love doing this, like to bring people together in magical ways and in ways where it's like, and especially back then it was like addresses announced like via email, like an hour before, like we were constantly like, where are these parties going to be and where are we going and whatever. And just like, I just really like the community building aspect of that as well. And when you would go out dancing, you could even just go out by yourself and know that you were going to know lots of people and they were going to be excited to see you and that you were safe. And I think just after going out on the Granville Strip and it just never resonating for me to have that community, it was just like, how could you not want to keep being a part of that, you know?
What would you say for people who don't know and aren't connected to like party scene, raving, you know, like everyone has a different definition of that. Even what like clubbing is or raving is, and like what you're describing has such a heart and soul of like being so community centered. Like, how would you describe what you were discovering at that time and what spoke to you most?
I think honestly, like just being able to spark up conversations with people and have them invite you in. And then, you know, I think a lot of the time you can be at parties and have these like funny little smoke pit conversations, but they don't stick, and you know you're probably not gonna chat with that person again, or it's whatever. But I think because we were all so religiously coming back to the same spaces, it just naturally formed such a tight-knit community. We were just constantly seeing each other, wanting to chat about the thing that we were really into. We all felt like we had discovered this like hidden gem in the city. And so many people that I talked to are like, I had no idea that this scene existed in this city until I met this one person and they took me to this one thing, and then suddenly the whole world opened up. Like as soon as you find one, you start to find the others. And yeah, I think just like the curiosity of it, but then also the welcomeness of it. And I think I hadn't fully experienced that in the live music scene. I think the live music scene a lot of the time can feel, although supportive, also competitive. And it's also just so based on how you're performing on stage and the music that you're sharing and what you're writing. And it feels like such a personal presentation, which DJing does too, but I think in a more universal language. I think everybody can kind of connect to it, and there's so many different genres that can like overlap with each other, and you just end up meeting so many more people. Whereas in the live music scene, it's like, well, if you're making hip hop, you're only hanging out with the hip hop heads. But I find in the rave community, it's like, you know, I really like house, but I'm hanging out with people who play like 160 ppm techno that I'm never going to be interested in playing, but like we're friends and we get it. And there's like a shared connectivity and community in that.
And there's a wider spectrum of like an overlap of things. Like you might not play it, but you can appreciate it and like it and support somebody else who's doing it. Quick spitfire adjectives to describe the very specific pocket and scene that you facilitate, support, are part of in Vancity Arts and Culture. Go.
Energetic, committed, creative, kooky. What else?
Describe the music or the art or that surrounds the scene as well.
Oh, the music. Man, like, yeah, energetic and melodic and, you know, connective. I think there's a really connective fabric to the music that's getting played. I think anyone, even if they don't necessarily like this genre, can come in and connect to something that happens that night and something that gets played that night. So I think just like a very connective, magnetic maybe. I think the music is really magnetic.
And the people?
Oh, the people.
What's the demographic of these people?
All walks of life.
Yes.
You know, like all age ranges. Some of my best friends are like 22.
Yeah.
And I love them, and it's so fun to listen to where they're at in their journey versus where I'm at. And then some of my other friends are like almost 50, And so I think a really diverse age range, a really diverse background. You know, we have people who grew up here. We've got people who are from around the globe. We have people who are from out east that are bringing in their scene. Americans that are coming up, you know. So I think it's just like super diverse, which sounds like kind of such a coined tag at this point, but it truly is just a community that continues to like, you just meet unique person after unique person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next pastry.
What
do you want to try?
I'm chatting.
Oh, yeah.
I want to go sweet. I want that cookie.
Haha. Yeah, so apparently it has dark chocolate. It's got miso. This is the first time I've ever had miso in a cookie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, have you had from where?
Chocolate chip? Well, I've made them before.
Wait, what?
With miso.
Like miso chocolate chip?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, you just put like miso paste in your chocolate chip cookie dough, and it just adds this like salty umami. It's so good.
let's go.
Oh my God.
I'm not sure if I'm getting the miso. It's very subtle.
Mm-hmm. It's really just like, I think, at least when I've done it, instead of adding salt.
Sea salt.
Yeah. That's good.
I'm not mad at it. At
No.
all.
Content.
Chocolate chip cookies are my favorite.
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
Chocolate chip. Yeah. But I want like a chunky dark chocolate, which this has.
Do you have a favorite kind of pastry?
A favorite kind of pastry? You know what? I'm always tasting it because you can't get them here. When I went to New Orleans and I had a beignet. Have you had a beignet?
No, but
What?
I've always wanted one. But
Oh my God, you have to have a
I
beignet.
mean, isn't it kind of just like also like Bannock or also like
It
a
is. It's fried
donut?
bread. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's like
So
fried
same,
bread.
same, different name.
But it's like the way that it puffs, the way that they make it.
And they make them like
They make them
Timbits,
little
right?
No, it's like a little pocket. It's like a little square.
Ah.
And they throw it, if you go to Cafe Du Monde in New Orleans, go there, it's the best beignets. And they give it to you in like a pouch of a bag with like a half a pound of icing sugar in there. And when you get it, it's hot. So you like scrunch up your bag and you shake it to get all the sugar on there. They're just like, it's so good. They're like the plainest thing ever, like compared to like, you know, miso, chocolate chip, whatever. But
No, sometimes simple is delicious.
I think because I can't get it all the time, I think about it a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
I want to hear about how working now with, you know, this is like a lot of like DIY underground events in smaller pockets of community, but now working with Public Disco, Van Mural Fest, Base Coast, like these are huge, like thousands of people, you know, hundreds and thousands of people. How is it to work now on that capacity and that level and to impact like even larger audience and community?
I feel like it feels really cheesy, but every day I'm waking up now being like, wow, I get to sit at my desk and like do the thing I want to do and like pay my bills doing it. I mean, by no means are we rich in the art scene, but it's just nice.
That needs to change. Just saying.
It does need to change. But I do feel like just every day I feel very blessed to be able to like get up and work and do work that I deeply care about and be able to like, pay my bills doing that. It's my first thought, but I guess it at the same time too feels like it makes a lot of sense. When I was doing all this DIY stuff, I've worked a lot of corporate jobs. I mean, I worked at Long & McQuaid as my first kind of big job, but that transitioned into me working in tech for like a number of years. And so I think through working in tech, I learned a lot of project management skills and administrative skills and problem solving and just like, knowing how to like run a spreadsheet, which I know you understand. And I think when you're a creative and working in the creative industry, so much of my being wants to push away the thought of being organized or using a spreadsheet or writing a good email. But that's like really what drives a lot of progress. And it, I think is the biggest thing that has helped me achieve and do a lot of the things that I want to do is like honing in on those skills and having the privilege of getting to work in these larger tech companies and learning a lot of skill sets from that and then taking it and applying to this DIY scene that I already was like so passionate about. And so I think it's really like the combo of like having this like, I don't know, I really like being an organized person. I like doing the spreadsheet stuff. I like writing a good email, which I think not all creatives could say necessarily. So I feel kind of lucky that way that I naturally just kind of enjoy sitting down at my desk and typing away. I was showing Cassie earlier my like really sick
Keyboard.
a mechanical keyboard that I have that I really like typing on. So
It brings me back to being a 90s kid.
yeah, totally. So I'm just like, I think that that has really led into me being able to work these kinds of jobs. Because I think a lot of the time, as much as we'd like to be like, every creative job is just like, you wait and there's inspiration and you just get to play all day, every day. And a lot of it is, and a lot of it is just like an administrative slog that you just have to get through. And I think me being able to do that has really afforded me the opportunities that I've gotten. And then on top of that, like, just having people who trust me and believe in me and prop me up and support me, like Nick and you through Public Disco for, I don't know, like 8 years now. Like, you're how I even met Public Disco. You were like, come volunteer. I'm going to throw up these decorations on Granville Island for these guys. They're doing Public Disco. It's like a pop-up party. And you're like, come hang bunting with me on Granville Island. And I was
my
like,
gosh.
cool, I'll come volunteer. And I think I was like 23. It was like right around the time that I was doing like Purple House and starting to throw parties. And I was like, yeah, I'll come volunteer. I'll come hang, all this stuff. And then, you know, what's funny is like now 8 years later, we're back on Granville Island doing a party together and it's huge. That like party popped off. It was crazy. So
Yeah, you really brought me back to 2018. It was a party called Art Smash with VMF, Van Mural Fest, and Public Disco.
yeah.
I had curated the DJs and the dancers. And yeah, you know what's so funny is I actually was looking through my Google Photos of, you know, you can go back years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I went back to that era and I have to show it to you, but there's like so many like screenshot pictures I took of just you in that era and like us at that time.
Yeah.
And that's really cool that that was part of your early memories and how you also got introduced to Public Disco, because now it's become and grown into such a big thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And just having people like Nick believe in me. I remember one time, he shouldn't have, to be honest, but he hired me to do sound for one of the parties. And I was working at Long and McQuaid at the time. I think I was like just wrapping up Long and McQuaid and I was about to move to Montreal.
Yeah.
He got me to the sound and it was pouring freaking rain. And I was like calling all these speakers being like, I hope I know how to plug all these things in right now. Like, you know, I can do it, but I need a lot of time to do it. I'm not a professional sound engineer, but he just always was so willing to be like, if you think you kind of know how to do this thing and you show me that you're like interested in doing it, then I will invite you in and you can come do it. And that has just like continuously been a huge aspect of getting to be a part of the scene, like having people like Nick believe in me and want to do that. And now, you know, like Max Ulis has really been leaning in and supporting me and like bringing me into lots of really cool projects. He and I are working on Full House now. So I think it's like, part of it is having the skill and part of it is having the motivation and the organization, but a lot of it is just having people around you that believe in you and want to give you opportunities and help you get to that next step, you know?
Yes.
And
you're a rare breed. I relate to you because we're also both Cancers.
Yeah.
So I have and possess very similar qualities of liking a spreadsheet and liking Excel or Notion or Airtable. Talk to me. Monday, talk to me.
Talk to me about a project management tool.
Yeah, exactly. Can't say I like some, but those are the ones I like.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, you're a rare breed of somebody who can have the organizational skills, as well as like understand vibe.
Yeah.
You know, and that part is like essentially as an event curator or producer, you're curating vibe.
Yeah.
And that's not something that can be taught. Like all those skills you can learn, which sidebar / hey, Elsa, want to teach the community like an Excel workshop of some sort?
Yeah, let's do it.
Actually though, like the number of people who've seen like templates I've made and have been like, hey, can you teach me?
How did you do this?
Yeah, it's useful. But anyway, yeah, you're a rare breed. And it's to see that, I guess this is also advice for anybody who is watching this, who wants to get into event organizing, and you're like, where do I start and how? And also, how do I approach people who are doing it and like want to work with them? It's like, here's your example, okay? Be reliable, be organized, understand vibe, go to things, support community, you know, and be willing to learn. Even if you don't know everything, like it's the attitude and the energy that makes people want to like have you on board and have you part of the community.
Yeah. And the idea of fake it till you make it, like fake it till you make it. Like if you are not quite sure you know how to do the thing, if you're motivated enough, you will figure out how to do the thing, and you'll figure it out very quickly. And also the organized and vibe thing, I think you can have both things, but finding the balance between the two has probably been my biggest journey in the last 10 years, because I think I headed into it being very like, we have to be super organized and I don't want to lose money on this party, and I would sacrifice the vibe sometimes for the sake of being organized, or would take too much energy out of wanting to be organized and ruining the vibe. Like if you are too type A and trying to really just, you know, you ruin the vibe. So you have to know when it's like, okay, it's organized enough, and it's okay if it doesn't all go perfectly. And I think experiencing things not going perfectly more gets you more comfortable with things not going perfectly too, you know? Like I think that is a bit of a journey in anybody's creative process, is knowing like when it's time to like get it all organized, and then when it's time to just like let things happen and judge the vibe in a way that like communicates with everybody else, you know?
That's important, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, because trying to be overly controlling of how you want the outcome to be, it impacts everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing I would say is, especially when you're there and it's event time, it's go time, it's party time, is like one of the biggest lessons I've had to learn is like to just be present at the party, and each person that comes my way, to look them in the eyes and thank them and like have a moment, even though we know you're like, I gotta go troubleshoot this thing. Like they
like, the bar's running out of ice, the door has a lineup,
and I just run into my friend and I have to say hi.
Like, oh my god, hi!
Yeah, and like, this is so great. And you're like, I have to put out a fire right now.
Yeah.
It's like, don't be the guy who's just stress on your face and you can't even enjoy the person who made the time, the effort, and paid the money to be there.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that was, I learned after from experiencing it from other people doing it to me. I was like, oh my gosh, that was me. And I totally impacted their vibe in that moment of enjoying the party.
Yeah, it's so true. Any DJ that I've gone to and said, thank you so much for having this night, or thank you so much for the set, and they've given me the like, thank you so much for being here, and like, I really appreciate you, it makes you want to come back. It makes you want to continue supporting them. And I think it's also good to take a moment to be like, you spent your money to come out here and support my thing, and that's not easy to do. It is hard to show up to all the things. And I mean, it's not worth complaining about, but there's so many fun things now to do in the city, and you can't be at all of them. So when people take the time to come to your thing, you gotta say thank you, and you gotta like recognize and also acknowledge that like the people that you can do everything you want to do to throw a good party, but if the people who show up are not the right vibe, or you know, people don't, the people that you're attracting to your event is also what makes your event really impactful. And the more that you honor and curate that community, the better your parties get. I think a lot of the time people can think that party throwing is like this individualistic venture, and you're like giving it to the people, but really you're creating something with the people.
Yeah, it's a co-creation.
Yeah.
What would you say are some of your maybe biggest growth challenges as you step more into this role as like the organizer and the bringer of people together?
Yeah, toning down the like, shit's gotta be organized.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not supposed to swear.
Yeah.
The stuff's gotta be organized attitude. I'm a bossy big sister. I have a heart, you know, me in a group project in high school, I just wanted to do all, because I wanted it to be good. So I was like, I'll just do all of it. I'll put your names on it. It'll be great.
Oh,
you know.
no. I've done that before
And
too.
I just have really had to let go of that.
Yeah.
And acknowledge that, you know, like what I said, it is a co-creation, and you gotta co-create, and you have to know when it's not your time to die on that hill, and it's okay. And sometimes someone else might have a good idea, and they might be right, and I might be wrong, you know, and accepting where I'm gonna be wrong, and like, that's okay. And I think that's been like a really big learning curve. And then protecting my energy. I think this year has been super, super exciting for me, and really busy. And, you know, I think any creative would ever feel guilty to complain about being busy and getting to pay their bills with those things. But it's also a real thing. It's a very energy draining line of work.
It's true.
You feel like you owe so much to so many people, and that is just like a really heavy weight to carry sometimes. And so I think I've just been trying to learn how to hold space for that, and where to draw boundaries, and really pay attention to the people who are in my corner and supporting me and have the space for me, and, you know, maybe other folks who are just, it's just more of a transaction. And both interactions are okay, but I think it's just knowing how much of each of those I need at the time.
Oh, yeah. Energy management. Yeah. I mean, back in like 2019, when I was in the thick of it, like emceeing, producing, curating, la la la, it was that. It was like going to acupuncture in between things. Yeah. And like, yeah, that is definitely a hard one to learn.
Yeah.
And it's still, it's like, it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's so tempting for me to just go out because I want to go to all my friends' parties. Like, nothing has changed. Like, just because I'm doing this doesn't mean that I'm not also just trying to go rave all the time.
Yeah.
And go out and do these things. And I just have to really recognize when it's like, okay, you want to, of course you want to go to these parties. And
you don't want to be known as the guy who, like, only everyone comes to your things.
Yeah. Totally.
You know, but it's like, also, I'm so tired.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. So I've, like, done things like sign up for soccer teams that have games on Sundays to keep my butt at home a little bit more, or at least slightly more behaved. Like, I'll still go out, but I won't go out as late and, you know, whatever. So
and you're active.
Yeah.
And staying active.
Yeah, staying active and just having other releases. I think the rave scene for me has been a huge release, and it is a really good place of meditation and connection and movement. But it just can't be my only source. And now that it's also my source of income, it really can't be my only source. I need to find other things to do and ways to get outside of it, which is important. I think that's also what inspires me to then come back to it in a different way, is to, like, go
rejuvenated.
Go touch grass. You know?
That's it.
Yeah.
Next pastry. Haha. Okay, so this one is the pumpkin brie.
That's what I'm excited about.
There was I wonder if the turnover is a seasonal thing, because last season or last month, Annabelle was, she put guayaba, which is kind of like, what's the other fruit? That's like a
Guava?
That. Yeah. It's a type of guayaba with brie cheese, and it was delicious. Hold on, I'm going to cut mine even smaller. So
I'll split that with you. Oh,
yes. Ooh, cheers.
I feel like I took all your.
It's fine. You're allowed.
Oh, you're really.
You're allowed to have. This is my crumb.
Whoa.
What? Wait, you did it without me. Hold on.
That's so good with the brie.
Would
not have thought.
So we got pumpkin filling, brie. I was like half expecting, you know, Thanksgiving vibes, but no. It's nice. It's subtle. It's not too sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
People hate on putting pumpkin in things. It's so good.
Why?
I don't know.
I'm not a fan of, like, squash, really, when you, like, roasted squash stuff. Like,
what about a soup? Like a butternut squash soup?
I can get behind that.
I can only get behind it if I need it spicy gingery. You know?
That.
Like, I need spice.
I don't want, to me, I'm a textures kind of gal. Okay. So having, like, the grainy apples, grainy tomatoes, grainy.
Yeah, no.
No, not into that texture, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah, this is delicious.
Whoa.
How would you describe the current landscape of where arts and culture is in Vancity right now? 2024.
Yeah.
Going into 2025.
Do you know what's funny is, like, we're talking about 2018 a lot, and I kind of feel like our city is getting back there a little bit. It's kind of fun.
But new players in the game.
Yeah, new players,
Which
new
is
spots,
sick.
But, like, just as much variety, which I feel like back in 2018, it was like, I just remember being in the group chats with my friends being like, which one? What are we going to go to? We're going to do it all? We should do it all, you know? And you could go, and it was back 333 and Index, like, the parties were like $5, and you could just buy tickets to both, and we would just run back and forth between both venues.
$5?
You know?
Is this Montreal?
Yeah. And I just, you know, obviously price-wise, we're not there anymore. But I think energy-wise and community-wise, like, I mean, we can talk about the pandemic was just
the
awful.
good old panini.
It was you know, it was so rough. And that was the moment where I think I really contemplated, like, okay, I might not even do this anymore. Like, this is just, like the pandemic.
Hands up for anyone who felt that.
Yeah,
and
like,
had that
I quit. You know?
I literally was like, no more community events. I'm burnt out. Like,
yeah, the world's over. I'm going to learn how to make sourdough bread. I did. I got really into baking. I was like embroidering and baking. It was good though. I needed that. I needed like a really introverted, domesticated time.
how Cancerian of you.
Thank you. But, you know, I think coming out of the pandemic, it was like, okay, now what? Like, what's gonna, and those first few parties too were just like such a release. Like, I remember going to the first couple of outdoor parties. I think Dolly had done like a couple of like in their back alleyway outdoor parties, and just everyone being like near tears. Like, just like, we cannot believe that we're doing this again and we're back outside. And the few couple forest raves that happened. And I feel like as soon as I got, because, you know, you're in your house and it's been so long, it's hard to even imagine what it feels like anymore. And those first couple parties where I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I'm definitely still going to do this. So, like, I haven't DJ'd in front of anybody in like 2 years now because of the pandemic. And I had just really taken a step back. And I think in that moment too, I had really wrapped my head around being like, okay, I work at this big tech company now, and maybe I'm ready to like kind of chill it out and like make regular income and do some more traveling and think about, you know, what my future is going to look like. And maybe I'll just be kind of more responsible and like, whatever that means, responsible. Yeah. And like work this tech job and whatever. And as soon as I got back out to dance floors, like after the pandemic had kind of chilled out, I was like, oh no, like I have to be a part of this. Like I can't. And then I think that's where, and it was funny too, because I was going back out and I started going out a lot, and everyone kind of kept being like, where have you been? Like, I haven't seen you. Now you're just out all the time. Oh, you're DJing again. And then just like really trying to get back in front of people and being like, okay, we're doing this. But I feel like now the current scene post-pandemic is everyone just really doing a good job holding on to something that we had to experience losing. And I think there's a different energy in it now compared to 2018, because I think in 2018 we never thought we were going to lose it, and you just approach something differently when you don't think you're going to lose it.
I call that era to the ramp up.
It was.
Like, it was like everyone traveling, everyone, like, it was just an all-time high.
Yeah.
Like, everybody on caffeine times 1,000.
Yeah, and everybody was doing something. There were so many different collectives coming out. Everybody was throwing different parties. We all had different nights. It was like just constantly going to each other's things. And also at that time, I think my live music world had a bit more crossover with my DJ world. Yeah. That I'm like interested to see maybe have happen again. I think me doing Mural Fest this year was kind of my first moment of like starting to cross those worlds over again, like hitting up my old Long and McQuaid network and getting them to come with their bands, and then all my DJ friends now and whatever. But yeah, I think this era is like really just people communicating a sense of loss in like a really beautiful way. And I think it's just like people being really committed to recognizing that like it's actually really easy to lose this if you don't make an effort. And like shout out to everyone that takes any time to throw any party at all in the city. Is straight up so much effort and so much emotional turmoil. And I just think like if any of us decide to not do it, the second even one of us decides to not do it for a while, that loss is felt, you know? Like anytime a collective takes a break or steps away or doesn't throw a party for a while, that's like one less party on the weekend, and we only have so many, and the city is only so big. And so I think currently this scene is just a really beautiful expression of people showing up for each other and for themselves, and like really honoring this like loss that we went through over the last number of years.
I would also want to add to that and say that like what I'm seeing emerging right now is like there's always a new generation who's doing it. Like more people turn to 19 every year who are legal and can start doing things.
How dare they?
But all ages stuff is great too. But like, you know, to see the next generations more diverse, more queer. Like growing up, like I only saw a very one kind of way of partying and clubbing, and it didn't resonate with me, like the Granville Strip idea, you know? Yeah. And so to see that there are different kinds of going out is so inspiring.
It's true.
Who would you say are the major players right now that are contributing to the arts and cultural scene?
Oh my gosh, so many.
Well, the ones that you, like, who you can think of right now that you're really stoked on?
I mean, like to your point of younger folks coming in and throwing parties, I think that, and also more diverse. Like when I was going out, there was some diversity, but it wasn't the same. And it was, you know, I was going to a lot of all dude lineups and all dude parties.
Oh,
and
when that was a thing. Still a thing for some places, but not relevant to me anymore.
Yeah. And so, you know, I think in that moment, that also is what inspired me to like kind of carve out space and be like, okay, I want to be a part of this. I want to be the one throwing the party, you know? Some of these boys don't know what they're doing with their lighting. And like, they need help.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that, but I think taking that feeling and then seeing it with the collectives that are happening now and just being so proud of them for like carving out space and wanting to do things. And not all of them are young, but I think, you know, like Normie and Drill and Gateo, like I've gotten to know like Gateo over the last little, they're so cool. You know, I had Brendoja come play one of the public disco things and I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah, big shout outs to Brenda.
Yeah, and like a lot of those parties are not necessarily the music that I'm playing that I'm really into, but I could still have just like so much respect for the spaces that they're carving out, especially for young queers. Like when I was first going out in the scene, like back then the queer parties that you could go to were still really kind of more mainstream or at more above ground bars. There wasn't a ton, at least
Davie
that I was
Street
aware
was
of.
your option.
Yeah, you know, and there was like a few spots that they were more geared towards a specific queer community and not necessarily as inclusive. And I think it just is really cool to see how that's grown over time. The Birdhouse is like such a special venue for so many different collectives to be able to come in and throw in events, and like their in-house events are really great. It's cool to see other collectives come in and transform that space and bring in their communities. And I think that has been a really special place for me to get to know over the last year or so. And yeah, and I mean, like, getting to do events with people who've been doing events for a long time, like getting to connect with Max Ulis and do events with him and see his approach to stuff. I just feel like everybody is kind of coming in from their own corner and their own interests, and it's been a really cool way to see everybody cross over. And I don't know, I just feel like there's probably so many I'm missing. And also a lot of DJs who, and Weirdos Inc. How could I forget Weirdos Inc.? Like, the stuff that they're doing is just so interesting. I really like them because they're coming in and just making it not just like, we got the DJs and the music and there's a party. It's like, we're going to do some weird stuff.
Thus Weirdos Inc.
And we're going to make people think about things or have a funny interaction. And I feel like when I was doing Purple House with Nick and Justin, we were not nearly as amazingly creative as they are, but we were also trying to do like cool little installations and do something interesting with the lighting. And I mean, now Nick and Justin are both like fully into lighting and film, so it makes sense. But I appreciate when there's an added layer to a party. And I think collectives like Weirdos and Drill and Normie, they all do Birdhouse, they do a really good job of like adding another layer of experience to their event. So people are, you know, playful. Like, I think, and I'll go on this rant all day long, going raving with your friends is just, you're playing. You're going outside to play with your friends. This is recess, you know? And I think we as adults need to do that more, you know? Whether it's a backpacking trip with your friends in the mountains for 4 days, just like the agreements to go out and play with your friends, I think is just such an important aspect of being a human on this planet.
Oh, yeah.
And I think when parties provoke play, it's when I like love them the most, you know?
I literally just had this conversation with my friend Kristen, aka Catch Flow, yesterday about low barrier silliness.
Yeah.
Just like, y'all, we can't be so serious. Like, I'm like, is that gonna go in your next event description? Like, low barrier silliness? Like, it's allowed, you know?
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Last pastry, honey.
Cardamom.
I'm a big fan of cardamom.
Yeah, it's an underrated spice.
It's an underrated spice. I had it's kind of expensive of a spice out here, but when I was living in Mexico, it is called cardamomo, which I just love the name, the word. And I would grind it up and put it in what they call a café de olla or café de olla. And it would be along with other spices like star anise, cinnamon, clove, and cardamom. And they would, you know, make the coffee in and put it in like a clay jug type of thing. And anyways.
That sounds like Moroccan coffee.
Oh, yeah? What spices do they put?
Similar. I think it's like star anise, cardamom, clove.
Really?
Probably some other things that I'm missing. But a spicy coffee.
I need
It's
to do
so
that
good.
next time on the show. I'm like, figure out making a cafe de olla. But the thing is, it's like, it sits there, so the flavors really
Yeah.
are in it. And I don't know, that's just not as easy to achieve. Ready?
Cheers.
Cheers. This is good. I would say, well, what would you say?
No, it's good. I feel like I go hard on spice. So I have a hard time appreciating. I feel like this is a subtle spice.
I was going to say,
But it's intentional.
I'm like, should we have started with this as the beginning?
I know, maybe we've like flavored ourselves out of it. So no, cardamom can't stand out, but
This is what I'm going to do.
yeah.
For those who are maybe not as adventurous and need a starter pastry, this would be good.
Yeah.
Either way, it's delicious.
No, it is. Yum.
Oh, yeah. What are you excited about coming up?
Oh my god. My New Year's Eve party actually.
Oh!
I'm doing a New Year's Eve party with Max Ulis.
Tell the people, is it a full house?
It's a full house party.
I wanted to actually jump back into that. Can you explain the concept of full house? Because it's new. And did I go to the first one?
Yeah. Yeah, you did. With Prosumer.
Yes. Who came from New York, but originally from Berlin.
Yeah. Yeah.
And was amazing.
Yeah.
That was such a fun night.
I know, I love him. It was such a good set. Full house. I don't know, Max and I have become fast friends over the last year. He booked me to play one of his shows last December. And I think we talk about this a lot. We play soccer and he's a center midfield, which if you know soccer, center midfield, going back to the organized controlling thing, center midfield is the controlling position. You're in the center and you're organizing everything. So I think he and I have just really ripped off of that.
Yeah.
And also just our love of house music. And I think, Vancouver's in an era right now where house music isn't always the first thing that you're going to hear at the parties, which is okay. There's so many interesting sounds coming out. But I think he and I were just like, we want to throw house music parties. And so we had done, initially we did one party together as a collab, and then we had also collabed together with Public Disco this past summer. And so we kind of got working together through those things. And then we were like, maybe we should not do a collab thing. Maybe we should just come up with a name for this so it's a little more concise.
Yeah, and have a new umbrella.
Yeah, and we were like riffing. We were like, what if Vancouver Special? We were like wanting to do something with a house, And then I was
Vancouver
like,
Special would have been sick.
I know,
actually.
yeah. And I was like, what if we did a Vancouver Special, whatever? And then we were kind of looking. We're like, I don't know. And then I was like looking at logos for this, and then I was like, oh my god, why don't we just rip off Full House? Like the TV show has the logo in there already. It just feels right.
You're right.
And I feel like Full House it just carries the right energy, I think Vancouver Special is like, I don't know, Vancouver Special is a little cold. Well, I don't know. I feel like a Full House is a better vibe. But yeah, I think he and I just had this like appreciation for wanting to like throw some like really warm, energetic feeling dance floors that I think I just like remember experiencing a lot in like 2017, 2018 when house music was a bit of a thing, and just this like really warm, energetic, housey nights.
What kind of house do we want to focus on or cater to? Because now the genre has evolved just as much as like hip hop, like there's so many flavors that exist. How would you describe this flavor of Full House that you're trying to center?
I don't think there's any one flavor. I think we're like, and I think New Year's Eve will probably be a little harder. I don't think it'll be as housey. I think a lot of the DJs that we've invited, it's like kind of their take on the house music that they're really into, which I have always enjoyed doing, like even through Public Disco and when I've done like Dude's dance floors, like inviting these DJs that maybe don't always play like the most housey sounding set. Like there's house music in there, but it's maybe like more a progressive house or a techie house. To have their approach to that, I think is really interesting. Because classic house is like one genre that you can kind of follow, but it's fun to take that classic house route and then see where it comes up in other genres of house music. Like I love hearing like a tech house remix of a classic house track, or a disco track or whatever. So I think no one flavor. I think just like an appreciation of all different kinds of house music, and also inviting DJs to come in and play their houseier sets and have their take on that.
That is an excellent segue to me planting in your brain now DJ Rita Spirit, who was on the show yesterday.
Yeah, okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, and I brought her to the Prosumer party.
Yeah?
Actually, yeah. She was the one who you met, who I was like, oh, this is my friend who just moved here.
Yeah.
Originally from Ukraine.
Yeah.
And we had her on the show yesterday, and she talked a lot about DJing, and especially from the perspective of being a street dancer first, and going into DJing, but also really holding down like the dance floor from that perspective.
Yeah.
And something that she had talked about was, through her travels of living in different places, China, traveled the world, it's like she really collects all these sounds, especially from other music producers and musicians and DJs, whatever, to then bring to wherever she goes. She's like, it's a gift that you give. And I love that you're creating that space through Full House, where it's like all these different DJs have the opportunity to share their interpretation or the aspect or flavor of house that they really are inspired by, to share with the people on the dance floor.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I'm really excited about New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
We're doing a takeover of the side room at Industrial. Industrial's doing, like, Vantek is doing a really big New Year's Eve bash. They're going to have like a 24-hour party, basically, in this warehouse.
Necessary.
Yeah. And this warehouse, if you haven't been in this warehouse, is really cool. It's very, like, European. You kind of feel like
You're in Berlin.
And so we're taking over the side room, and they have a really great void sound system. And I think we're going to try and hang that disco ball chandelier again. So
It was really beautiful.
But I'm excited because it's just a lineup full of friends. Like, I think we just kind of were like, we want to throw a party for New Year's Eve with all of our friends and just have a really, like, celebratory evening with lots of really great sets. So I think that'll be fun. And I'm playing a later time than I usually play, so that'll be fun too. What else am I excited? I'm really excited about this season of Public Disco in 2025. I think we came out of this past year just feeling like so inspired and grateful and, like, kind of shocked and amazed that it went as well as it did. I mean, of course it did. Nick is, like, the best party planner ever, but yeah, just to kind of come off the back of that and know that what we wanted to do is possible, and now we can do it even better this time around. And so just kind of starting to toy around with the ideas of what we want to do next year and working on some of the curation for that. And
As in, like, another summer series, an After Dark series?
Yeah, another summer series. I think we're going to try and do one more After Dark, another After Dark heading into 2025. Just kind of, like, expanding on the summer series that we did last year. So we're just sort of in the midst of planning that and talking about curation. So that's really exciting. And
Base Coast?
Yeah, very excited for Base Coast.
Because you played for your first time this past year, and now you're the executive assistant.
Yeah.
So you're really getting, like, a bird's eye view of everything, of what it takes. Big shout out to the librarian and the whole Base Coast squad. Like, what it takes to make this happen.
Yeah.
I've never experienced this yet.
Yeah, totally. They're such a cool group of people. It's, like, just very inspirational to see someone or, like, a group of people be like, we're going to do this festival, and to just, like, they've been doing it for 17 years, so it's just really cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the longevity.
Yeah. So it's just really cool to, like, hear their thoughts and processes on how they build this, and just to get the behind the scenes. I mean, working at Vancouver Mural Festival this past summer too was also a really sweet behind the scenes of, like, how you pull something at that scale together to book multiple stages. Like, that was my first time curating for multiple stages on a day, and to see them have to do that at this scale with Base Coast, it's just really, really cool. I'm just excited to be at the festival. I think it's fun to work on any party and then eventually have it come to life, Like, I'm playing a smaller part in the whole thing, but it's just cool to see the behind the scenes and then get to be there when it all comes together. So
it's that moment where you're like, then the party is happening, and everyone who's been part of organizing it, like, have a moment where you're like, this is why we do it.
I always call it when the emails have become
Yeah.
real life. And, like, the party has officially exited the email inbox is, like, how I feel about it.
When you put your automatic responder.
Yeah, when the auto receipt, you're like, it's event day. And you're like, bye-bye, there are no longer any emails to be sending.
Yeah.
Whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
Text me.
Yeah.
This is where I'm
Call
at
me,
now.
and I probably won't answer.
Gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Aww.
So, just a really exciting year. I feel like I exited this past year being like, wow, this is so exciting. And if this is kind of like all I end up doing and we go back to corporate life, like that's okay. This chapter alone was like exhilarating enough. Like I hit so many milestones. I've always wanted to play bass coast. I've always wanted to work more full-time at Public Disco. I've always wanted to like do more curation, and just like everything I kind of asked for and looked for this year happened, and
it's your year, baby.
it's just been really cool. So I'm just heading into this next year being like, okay, here we go again. I can't believe we're doing it again. Like, it's just, I feel very blessed. Like, I finished these last 2 contracts fully anticipating having to, like, go get a real job again. So,
no, this is your real job.
yeah, I'm stoked.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We're pretty much almost time at our live stream. It's been such a lovely chat and so good to catch up with you in this way.
I feel like we're always like around different parties, but
yeah, quick hellos and goodbyes and
Yeah.
little mini catch-ups that can be condensed into like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I think I want to just end on this question of, you know, how 5 years from now, people from other parts of the world, how do you want them to know, or what do you want them to be saying about Vancity's arts and cultural scene?
that we deserve the attention and we deserve people to want to make the effort to come out here and play a show. I think a lot of the time, one of our biggest barriers with booking international DJs or artists or getting people to come out here is it doesn't feel worth the trip. And then I feel like anyone, I feel like anyone that does make the trip is always like, wow, I had no idea that it was like this here. And I mean, at the same time too, I think internationally there are lots of people who do know that it is like this here. And I think on the flip side, we have people in our city who don't realize that people globally really respect our city and the scene that we have. So I think it's like this really well-known gem, but also still this very hidden gem at the same time. And I just think anybody that has the time or wants to make the effort to come here and connect with this scene, like, you won't regret it. And this, once you connect with this scene will always hold on to you and they will always invite you back. Like, I think anybody that I've seen come through here is so ready for another trip to come back here and hang out with us. So
Underrated,
Yeah.
is the word I want to add there.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, you know, you go to other big cities that have such a vibrant arts and cultural scene, like New York, for example. And no shade to New York, because you are the mecca and the originator of so many amazing social arts and cultural movements. But, like, from a smaller scene, to feel really embraced and that people are like, you're from out of town? Like, you got to go to this, this, and this, and I'll take you. Like,
Yeah.
to make that effort and create that community vibe where you really feel welcome and held and taken care of, like, that is rare.
it is.
And that is what is special about us.
Yeah, it's true.
Yes. Well, Elsa, you were amazing.
Thank you.
Love you long time.
Thanks for the chat.
Thanks for the chat. Thanks for the coffee.
Thanks for the treats.
Thank you, Annabelle Choi, for your amazing brain
Yeah.
and creations. And big shout out to Sean as well for shooting this live stream. Everyone who's tuned in, we appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Watch the replay. And yeah, this has been another episode of Vancity Beats, Eats,